said he's just a friend.
Back, everyone, to a brand new edition of Getting Color right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue, being joined by the man himself, former WCW Hardcore Champion, legend, the man who defeated Terry Funk on Nitro, Big Vito LaGrasso. What's up?
It's the BIGV from the LOG coming to you live, baby, live from the 813 Movie Star Rent-A-Car. And who in the hell is The Rock? How's everybody doing today?
Yo, Vito, we got a pretty jam-packed show. Tonight is AEW Revolution, so I'm sure we do have a little bit to talk about tonight. And obviously by the time we're done recording this and we're live on Twitch, some of the things we'll talk about will already have happened, so we can discuss that next week. But let's get this out of the way. You were mentioning to me that there's something happened with Bill Nye and Disney and royalties that's going to allow Bill Nye to collect 20% or something like that, and royalties from Disney. And so it triggered this conversation. I want your thoughts. What is this going to do for other companies like WWE, who doesn't pay royalties to many people that it still puts on their streaming services, such as the WWE Network and such as somebody like yourself? You wanted to talk about this, so have the floor.
So what this does, guys, is because he is on the Disney Network and they changed their technology from VHS and stuff like that, the judge ruled that Disney has to pay royalties because there's a stipulation in their contract that says when the terminology and technology changes, royalties will be paid. Same thing applies in the WWE contract. When the technology changes, royalties will be paid. Now, WWE just sold to Peacock and sold everything over. That is a new technology. So
in regards to the network and all of the past content.
Right. So now that the technology has changed, that brings in that fine line that nobody thought would ever happen, to pay royalties to every superstar that is on the network.
That is interesting. And get your attorney on that case, Vito, because that sounds like a big precedent set with Disney and Bill Nye. So that should trickle over to other scenarios with other companies. So there's a lot of wrestlers that WWE is still using their likeness.
That's
Definitely
right.
Follow up with that. So that's
okay.
Interesting. And I know you will update us. You will update us.
Yes. All right. We got big news. Virtue, go. I know. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Aaron Griff, he's suffering and doing his thing in the wilderness.
His anniversaries of last time going out in public before COVID.
Right.
I don't remember seeing any Big Vito and Virtue anniversaries he's talking about.
No, I haven't seen any of those. And then he happened to mention, isn't this the anniversary when Big Vito quit? I'm going to set the record straight. Big Vito did not quit, no DQ. And everybody knows it. And everybody knows why. I stepped down gracefully. Virtue is my witness. Yeah. And everybody knows. So, let's not throw stones at a glass house when you're being whipped by your girlfriend.
Bam. Now we got to go into wrestling news after that. Wow. All right, let's get this topic out of the way. WWE has supposedly, this is through Dave Meltzer and some of the dirt sheet writers, they are banning leg slaps because I guess something might have happened on a SmackDown and Vince McMahon saw and heard a leg slap that was so obvious, like we've all seen over the last several years. I think this is great. I think because when I grew up watching wrestling as a kid in the 80s and the 90s, like Shawn Michaels might have done it, but they didn't do it at the rate they did, and you never noticed it. This needs to go away. Is this a good thing? I think so. What is a legend like your take, Vito, on this? Were you ever slapping your thigh or leg?
I hit everybody with power and force. If you ever see me touch my leg, that was just to get the mafia kick off or just an FU or something like that. But we have somebody actually thinking on Facebook that Big Vito is the mystery man at AEW. Sorry, folks. That will be a later post. Right now, I'm doing Getting Color with Virtue, and I could never miss a date with Virtue just to stick it to Aaron Rick. Go ahead.
So, yeah, Vito, you were old school. You didn't have to slap your leg and thigh multiple times. And, it's one thing if a wrestler does it for a big spot and they do it quick and you don't notice it. But the wrestlers today, NXT, AEW, they do it so often, it's noticeable. And fans that tune this in, like, did he just make that sound with his own hand?
Exactly. You know who's famous for doing that, guys? If you ever watch Jerry Lawler, you watch Ricky Morton, okay? And when those guys were working Memphis style, if you were punching or kicking, they slapped their own leg.
Yeah. But they probably did it in such a way where you didn't notice it. Well, when Vince McMahon notices something, guess what? It's supposedly banned, so we'll see if that holds true.
Yeah,
okay.
But you know why?
Yeah.
But David, do you know why? Because they're not trained the right way, and they're learning it in the developmental.
Yeah.
They're not learning their craft on how to hide things and protect the business. It stinks. I can't stand it. That's why they need more wrestlers and veterans in the training facility who did it when wrestling was awesome.
Yep. You ready for this? So I don't know if you saw the Shaq's wrestled. Shaquille O'Neal wrestled on Dynamite. It was a mixed match or an intergender tag match, and he didn't do much, but he wasn't horrible. I think he got body slammed by Cody, kind of. But the big spot was they set two tables up. The girls in the match set the two tables up that Shaq and Cody went through. Cody came over the top rope, hit Shaq, and they went through two tables. Shaq sold it initially very well. He laid there. Camera was on him, out cold. Like, how wrestlers today pop up really quick after big spots? Shaq did everything right? He doesn't work in the business like that, so he doesn't know all the intricacies. Well, something got out on the internet later on, and it showed the ambulance backstage where fans that were there were grouped around, and this might have been outside. They saw Shaq get out of the ambulance and trot away, not selling anything. And Jim Cornette went off and said, this is what's killing the business. So thoughts on the table spot, how Shaq initially sold it if you saw it on the internet, and what's your take on that ambulance spot with fans watching and it got on the internet? That's guys, like fourth wall crumbled, buddy.
They made a big thing when we're going to go back to Rocky. When Thunder Lips was in the house and you looked at Rocky and you looked at Thunder Lips, the size difference, and you saw the beating Rocky took. And then when he had enough and he ripped his gloves off and he finally picked up Thunder Lips, that was the ultimate thing. And then the fight broke up and everything was cool. You saw Big John Studd and Andre the Giant, two giants. I have $10,000 for the first man who could slam me. That was believable. Not everybody could slam a 7-foot giant. When Hulk Hogan slammed Andre, that was big news. That was built up. Cody Rhodes, as much as I would like a job at AEW, guys, What the fuck do you have the business to pick up a fucking giant like that and try to slam him on his first wrestling appearance? You fucking killed him. It
That's a
sucked.
great point.
Okay?
Yeah.
So he can never go into a big time match with the Big Show because he's already been exposed. You exposed Shaq. He's supposed to be a 7-foot giant. Oh, now he's almost 400 pounds, and you're going to come over Cody Rhodes and fucking slam him?
It's a Cody Rhodes show, man.
Expose the business. The going through the table. Shaq is a wrestling fan. He did it well. Should he have gone through the table on his first wrestling show? You exposed him.
You know that was the opening match, not the freaking, not the main event. Unbelievable. And it drew well. That match drew over 1 million people. Then the show went back under to its 800 and some thousand the rest of the way. That is nuts. I cannot believe they did not thread that like Russo used to do.
You see, you know what they're missing today? They're missing throwing Sting out there every now and then, him flying around. You're missing the big stars making a cameo, right? So you had to sit there so they watched the show steady. You imagine if they got a steady million rating across the board because Sting was going to appear or do something or go to commentary. People want to watch that. They don't want to watch the shit that's on today. And I'm sorry to say it like this, but guys, you can only watch so many flips and all this other stuff. It's just not believable. When Shaq got out of the ambulance and jogged off in front of the fans, what happened to kayfabe? Did you all lose your mind? It eats me because Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, Billy Gunn, Jerry Lynn, Dustin Rhodes. These are guys of my era who taught you the kayfabe of the business. And you're letting this happen not to protect our craft because you're
They're all there
too.
They're watching this.
I find it appalling. My friend Taz watching this, and I understand you're getting a paycheck, but there comes a line where you Tully Blanchard. You got 2/4 of the Four Horsemen there.
Yeah.
Right? Those guys were badass ass kickers. They were believable. And you're letting this happen because of Dusty Rhodes' son, Cody, wants to be the star of the fucking show? Are you kidding me, fellas? Come on. You guys are better than this. This is why the wrestling business is the shit. I know. I shouldn't say this. You know, I'm trying to get a job, but it's the truth. I'm not getting paid by nobody. I'm being here trying to be an analyst and journalist and calling it down the middle. But you can't protect that. You can't. It's disgusting. Virtue, go ahead. And Jim Cornette, I'm not a Jim Cornette fan, but Jim Cornette, you can quote this. You had every right to shit on that because you were telling the absolute God's honest truth. I am behind you 100% on your assessment on that as a journalist, analyst, and somebody who loves the wrestling business. You could fucking print that.
Well said. Now, since we're on the topic of AEW and you're not going to be there tonight at Revolution, why make this big announcement and put all this expectation on, because most likely if it's nobody like a John Cena or a Brock Lesnar, people are going to be let down. And what happened to surprises being surprises? Nobody knew about it. You watched every show knowing there could be a surprise. And if there wasn't most of the time, then when there was, you were actually shocked. Any thoughts on who it could be? We've heard, the teases with Kurt Angle, Christian's names come up. I highly doubt it's going to be any huge person. I know you might have a different take on it. So what do you think?
All right, guys. The reason they do this is to draw viewers' interest. When you draw viewers' interest, the people will tune in. They'll buy the pay-per-view just to see who it is. Smart business. Now, you have Kurt Angle. You have Brock Lesnar. You have CM Punk. You have The Rock. You have Batista. You have Christian. That's a good stable of guys to pick from. Now, Dave Batista is in Hollywood. If he had to make a trip down to Jacksonville, I could see him doing that once a week to make $1 million. Sure. Brock Lesnar, he would boost the ratings tremendously and move the needle. I could see him doing that once a week. Christian. Now, Christian is different because Christian is a worker. So you'd get to see quality matches every week. Kurt Angle, off his last WWE run, do you want to see Kurt Angle wrestle again?
Well, the way they're doing Sting, wrestling occasionally like in tag matches and stuff. And when Kurt Angle did the stuff where he had like a tag match, like that match at WrestleMania where it was him and Rousey, it looked really good because he didn't have to carry the match. I think it could be Kurt Angle. I mean, we'll talk next week who it ends up being, but he kind of got his departure in WWE was not very ceremonious.
No, it wasn't. They buried him. But when Vince McMahon, you leave the nest, you will come back. You'll get your glory. You'll get everything. But Vince will get you in the end.
Yes.
Now, the last guy I saved for last is CM Punk.
That would be huge for the internet, just because you know why. You know why. Okay. The internet fans love talking about him.
CM Punk, I have nothing against him. Okay? 7 years you've been gone. You had a chance to go back to Vince, probably on top, but you declined. You went on that internet show, and it didn't draw the way you thought. You're going to come back, and you're going to wrestle here. Will it be the same draw as he was in WWE? I think his star power has diminished. Not to say he can't be great again, but I think 7 years out of the business, you've been away, you've done some great things, you lived a life with your wife, everything is cool, but do you really need to come back? No. Did you have a chance when your popularity was up here? Yes. I just think it won't get the same pop as it did before.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And the way Tony Khan and AEW is, they like catering to the diehard fans that love that kind of CM Punk stuff. You know, the diehards that talk about it on the internet for days and days. So I mean, that would be why AEW would do it, because I think they only like pleasing their fans. It doesn't seem like they want to grow much more than they are. I mean, at least they bring in Shaq, they brought in Tyson, but I don't know. That would be interesting, at least in terms of the internet.
You just made a good point. Your scenario sounds like no DQ. they're just content to be there and have
Yes.
Caitlyn have a show. I mean, really.
Now, to Caitlin's defense, she's a heck of a lot better than some of the other dudes on that channel. So,
No,
with all due respect,
I will give her credit where credit's due. She does a good job. And like, if anybody follows on Facebook in this wrestling thing, Aaron is whipped. You move to the cold, the forest. I have my symbol there. He tries to come back at me, but I laugh it off. And he knows he's a whip boy. I mean, have you gotten a paycheck from Caitlyn yet?
No, I'm just trying to find out some of her friends that, like, one of her girlfriends is divorced. So, like, I'm kind of like lurking there, seeing who I can maybe take out on a date.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome
yeah,
it's awesome for the hookup. I mean, if Aaron invites you to the pizza and the parties and the nature call, the pictures and the love nest, Aaron is totally. I can't. Next subject.
All right, ready? Yeah. So you thought a little higher of the Miz than being the WWE champion, and they completely made him look like a chicken shit coward heel on Raw, running away until finally Bobby Lashley got him in the end, the last match on Raw, in a lumberjack match, and squashed him. Bobby Lashley is your new WWE champion heading into WrestleMania. So what is your thoughts now that actually did happen? Because we talked about that last week, but you kind of thought maybe the Miz and it would linger at least the fast lane. Bobby Lashley is the champ. So have at it.
Congratulations to Bobby Lashley for finally living a dream and getting a career goal and being WWE champion. Congratulations. I would have liked to see The Miz do more, but it is what it is in the wrestling business. Did he outlast Stan the Man Stasiak, who had a 10-day run as champion? Did he surpass that? Or is he the new shortest reigning WWE champion out there?
Well, I'd have to go look. The Miz was definitely shorter than 10 days. It was like 8. But because they did the Money in the Bank stuff, I'd have to go look and see if anybody held it for only like a few minutes, or because then someone cashed in. Like, that's probably still a possibility. I don't know that unless I research it. But the Miz did have a less than 10-day run. Okay.
And if everybody knows, Stan the Man Stasiak, the man of the heart punch, he beat Pedro Morales for the title. His title reign in the WWF lasted 10 days. I believe the next champion was either Bruno or Bob Backlund.
Yeah, it was one of those two, because they didn't want Pedro to drop it, or be the one to drop it to them. So that's why they did that. Yeah.
So will Miz be known as the shortest reigning, defending WWE champion of all time?
Very well could. I mean, at least of this modern era, like I said, I'd have to go back and see if anybody won it and then got cashed in on right away and lost it. But yeah, the Miz, 8 days, right back to the mid-card. And it's going to be him and John Morrison versus Bad Bunny and Damian Priest at WrestleMania. That's where Miz is going to be. Probably putting over Bad Bunny.
Guys, I'm going to say this. A job is a job, and you got to do what you got to do. As far as the Miz's credibility in the wrestling business, bro, you have done a great job at parlaying yourself in being a pro wrestler. I was there in the beginning when you started. I'm very proud of you, and to see what you've accomplished is awesome. It really is.
Now, because we talked about Brock Lesnar earlier, is he needed for WrestleMania? Now, if he showed up in AEW, holy crap, that would bust the internet, probably bigger than CM Punk. But Is Brock Lesnar needed for WrestleMania? Right now, with the pandemic, I believe he has not been back here in the United States, definitely not on wrestling. So what is your take? We talked about this on the review on the No DQ show last week, but I need to hear it from you. What do you think?
Guys, when you have a star like Brock Lesnar, he's needed all the time because he draws. Now, what would be better at AEW? Just to say, let's do this. Just to say, The Rock shows up and scores an exclusive deal with AEW. What would everybody do? If The Rock had to show up once a week for AEW, cut a promo, and go home.
That'd be
How
huge.
many millions could you possibly fill? Would he draw 1.5 million every week just to whip the ass of NXT? Which we haven't brought up, that NXT is looking to move to Tuesdays. So now, if we see a ratings jump, that 1.5 million, 1.5 million, Raw has 1.5 million, SmackDown has 1.7 million, it evens out.
Yeah, I think I don't know if he's going to be at this year's WrestleMania, depending on if the restrictions are lifted from the travel to Canada and how that all works. Because I mean, even Canadian athletes for like the baseball and hockey teams, they have to be down here. And, I don't know where they all live, but it'll be interesting. I mean, there's not many weeks left, and usually if Brock's going to be at Mania, we would have heard it by now. They would have started promoting it. This might be a WrestleMania without him.
Guys, I just want to say this. When you have that WWE star power and you walk out down the aisle in WWE, there's a certain aura that you carry, right? When you go to a lesser promotion, that star power is not as strong as the WWE. I'm going to throw something out there.
Yes.
What happens if Ronda Rousey goes to AEW?
Exactly. That would be, I mean, and again, we'll talk about who it ended up being, but like, I guess, it's cool to have a lot of speculation like this, but will they deliver?
If you put Ronda Rousey in the AEW, this definitely wouldn't have the star power of the WWE, but you just gave them an ass kicker.
Yep.
That nobody should beat until they bring somebody else. And that means they could probably bring Kat Zingano or Cyborg or some of those other ones that Rousey hasn't got a chance to be in there with.
Yeah.
And what better TV than Ronda Rousey against my all-time favorite, Misha Tate.
There you go, Vito.
I'm telling you, if I was in charge, I would buy that 1 million times over.
I just tweeted, like, if Tyson was on the pay-per-view tonight, just on it, I would pay $50, like I paid for his match against Roy Jones. Star power gets people to spend money.
Guys, I know I just threw something out there, but you think about it. If you did bring Ronda Rousey in, right? Who is her arch enemy? Who does she hate? Misha Tate.
Yep.
Many people think it's Brock, but I highly doubt it. But, this is what's going on. Kurt Angle, and this is nothing against Kurt Angle and nothing against nobody. But, guys, they need a star. They need somebody like The Rock or Brock Lesnar to bring them.
Yep. Now, Vito, that's all I have for this show. And by the way, you were spot on. Stasiak defeated Morales to win it as the transitional champion to drop it back to Bruno.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure we got that right. Yeah.
And and guys, back then when they believed in wrestling and the hard punch was legit, back in 1973, guys, is when you believed in wrestling. When George the Animal Steel carried his steel spike and used to spike people, biting the turnbuckles, you believed.
Yep.
I think if you brought in a Ronda Rousey, a Rock, a Brock Lesnar, right? Who else could they bring? Let's just play devil's advocate.
It's got to be a big name, or I'm disappointed. And nothing against the Christians and people like that. Definitely nothing against it, but like the way it's felt hyped, you're expecting one of those box office marquee attractions.
One thing, now, when they put Dave Bautista in there, right?
That's not bad if that happens because he's Hollywood.
Bad to come in and do his thing. So you got Bautista, a Brock Lesnar, a Rock, right? Now, the thing that would throw over the wrestling community and probably half the world is if Cena walked in there.
Oh, yeah,
and
so many big names.
Cena.
Yeah, so many big names. But boy, let's see what happens. We'll see on Twitter by the end of the night.
We'll see.
So,
all right,
great
David,
show, Vito. Great show,
man. I think we had a very good show today. We got to talk about a lot of great things. Gave a lot of great insight, and we gave a lot of resources for the imagination today. So why don't you close it off? And congratulations to Caitlin. You're doing a fine job running No DQ.
So you can follow Big Vito on Twitter at the Big Vito Brand. You can follow me at NoDQ_Virtue. Vito's got a Patreon, the Big Vito, patreon.com/the Big Vito Brand. This has been Getting Color. You see it on Twitch. You hear it on Anchor. Most importantly, it's thebigvitobrand.com. So for the man himself, Big Vito, thank you for listening and watching. And this will be on demand all over the place, including No DQ, where Caitlin runs all week long. Thank you for watching and listening. Big Vito and I will see you next time.
Here's your exclusive sneak peek at the Big Vito Brand on Patreon. Hi guys, welcome to I Love Viti. I am Noelle. I am here with Big Vito, and we have a special guest today because Ray is apparently laying somewhere dying. So we have with us our dear close personal friend, South Philly Mean is with us. She's our referee today, Vito.
No freaking way.
Yeah, way, dude.
You are in big trouble, buddy.
Because it's this team against one.
Yep.
Not going to have no Ray on your side today. You got me and Mean. And for those of you who are well aware of the Big Vito Brand, you may remember South Philly Mean from Exposed, one of the most popular shows that ever happened, where we exposed Vito for setting up Mean to be harassed by the Maury Show.
She was having a hard time, so I didn't have any cash. And then I said, listen, go to your old pocketbooks, turn them upside down, you'll find money. I think they found like about $15, and they had enough for grilled cheese that night. I mean, it was cool.
Rock the Palace Bowling on numerous occasions. I've seen him have full dance floors at the Palace, and I used to DJ there, and Vito would come with me, and we would have some dance floors full and a good time. But yep. Danny J at nighttime rocked at that Palace. I'm going with Palace parties for Danny J.
But Neen goes away on girls' night, a girls' weekend.
I have one girls' weekend.
And I need a guys' weekend.
You don't have any guys?
I got guys.
She goes, what, a can of SpaghettiOs or ravioli? I said, this motherfucker cooks full meals. She goes, no, he doesn't. I said, absolutely, cook tacos 3 meals a day.
He told Dan years ago in my kitchen, and don't even try and lie. You said to my husband,